All right, let's get started with the Think Central Unit 6 review and practice test. Make sure you complete the Nearpod if you want to get an A+. Complete the Nearpod assignment and also make sure that you finish this Think Central practice test online. All right, let's look at the first problem. The model represents the length of a whale, and that's W, so that's right down here. That's W. And the length of a porpoise, P, so that's the porpoise, P. For the following, select true or false. The whale is 5 times as long as the porpoise. Well, you see that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so that's true. The porpoise is 5 times as long as the whale. No, the porpoise is shorter than the whale. The whale is 1/5 as long as the porpoise. No, the whale is longer than the porpoise. The porpoise is 1/5 as long as the whale. Yes, that is 1/5 right there, so that's true. Let's check out Think Central. There it is right there. So we are true on that. Pause the video and make sure you understand the model, comparison bar model. And problem. Select the word problem that represents this equation. So you have 1/3 of something and you're multiplying it 4 times. So what do we have 1/3 of? To make 4 servings of a recipe, 4/3 cups of grapes are needed. How many cups of grapes are in 1 serving? So this is a difficult problem. To make 4 servings of a recipe, 4/3 cups of grapes are needed. How many cups of grapes are in 1 serving? Well, it's kind of true. That's kind of true, but I don't think that's our best answer. This answer is not true. A recipe calls for 4 cups of grapes, so the chef used 1/3 of a cup. Let's look at C. A recipe calls for 1/3 a cup of grapes. To make 4 servings, 4/3 cups are needed. So between A and C, this is the best answer. Though A could be right, but that's more of a division problem than a multiplication problem. So we look at Think Central. A recipe calls for 4 cups of grapes. A chef used 1/3 cup. How many cups of grapes are left? To make 4. Okay, so examine each one of the choices. I'm right here. Recipe calls for 4/3. An equation of this word problem is shown below. This equation of the word problem is not the same as a given equation. To make 4 servings of a cup, 4/3 cups of grapes are needed. How many are in 1/3? An equation for this word problem is shown below. So both the first and second option are not true, and that leaves C, the third option. So just because it's a multiplication problem, we're going to go with C. This problem, 7/8. So Teresa needs 7/8 yards of fabric to make a purse. How many yards of fabric do you need to make 3 purses? Well, that looks right because you have 7/8 for 1, you're multiplying it by 3. B, Teresa has 3 yards of fabric to make a purse. She used 7/8. No, that's subtraction. That wouldn't work. Teresa needs 7/8 yards of fabric to make a purse. How many purses can she make with that? No, that's not true either. So A is the best answer. So which word problem represents this equation here? We have 7/8 times 3. So looking at that, here is the Think Central response. They're showing that it should be this answer right here. Teresa has 3 yards of fabric. No, that's not true. It looks like the best answer here is B. You have 7/8 of a yard and you're multiplying it by 3. So you end up needing 21/8 yards of fabric. Unpack problem number 4. You have 1/3 of something. You're going to split it into 5 parts. So each part is 1/15. After a soccer game, how much of a pitcher of water is shared? So you have to know the dividend here. The dividend is 1/3. So you have a pitcher of water and 1/3 of it is left. So that 1/3 goes there and it's shared by 5 people. So we are going to split, and I'm going to show you here, split that into 5 groups there. So that's divided by 5. So each player is going to get, remember it's keep, change, flip, keep, change, and flip. So each player is going to get 1/15. And if you look at that, that's 1/15. And that's another 15th, etc., etc. So you end up with 5/15 for this part, and that is equal to 1/3. And here is Think Central's explanation. The key word is shared equally. So you're going to take 1/3 divided by 5, and each player's share was 1/15, like we did in our problem before. Make sure you understand that 5 is the dividend. So we have 5 of something, and we're dividing it by 1/6. Well, how many sixths are there? I think that's 6. How many sixths are there in one whole? There are 6 sixths in one whole. So if we take 5 wholes and subtract 1/6, how many times will we be able to do that? Well, we can do it 6 times here, 6 times here, 6 times, 6 times, 6 times, and 6 times, and that's a total of 30 times. So you have 5 pizzas, that's your dividend, cut into slices. Each person gets 1/6 of a pizza. So how many slices will there be altogether? I guess I could have drawn a model like that. So each of one of these is 1/6, and if you had 5 pizzas, you would have 30 slices of pizza. And here is Think Central's explanation of that. So 1/6 goes into 5 wholes 30 times. 30 people will get a pizza. This problem is one of the more difficult ones on the test. What I think you need to do here is you need to extend this and do a table and make sure you understand how many of each you're getting. So 2 students each bought 3 pencils. So how many pencils would there be if 2 students bought 3 each? There'd be 1, 2, 3 for one student, 1, 2, 3 for another student. So that is a total of 6 pencils. So I'm going to create my chart like that. And an eraser. So they each bought an eraser. So that would be 2 erasers here. 3 students each bought a pen and 2 pencils. So 3 students bought a pen and 2 pencils. So we're going to have to add some more pencils here. So 3 students each bought 2 pencils. That would be another 6 pencils like that. So I'm going to have another 6. So what I'm going to have to end up with here is one of these equations is going to show me 12 pencils at 15 cents each, 2 erasers at 59 cents each, and 3 pens at 48 cents each. So let's find out which of these equations matches this number over here. So let's take it one step at a time. So this here shows me 2 students bought a pencil, and this shows me one eraser, and this shows me 1 pen, and this shows me 3 students bought a pencil. So how many pencils would I have altogether? Well, that would be 5 pencils here and 3 pencils here. That doesn't match because I need a total of 12 pencils, so that's going to be out. This one shows me 12 pencils, because 12 times 15, 2 erasers, because that's 2 times 59, and 3 pens. So does that match with what we have here? Yes, I have 12 pencils right here, 2 erasers, and 3 pens. So B looks like it could be a possible answer. So again, look at the table. We need 12 pencils. Look at C. C has 6 pencils, 6 times 15, and 6 pencils, 6 times 15, so that's 12. We have 2 erasers, which is what we need right there, and we have 3 pens, what we need there. So C looks like it's also correct. Let's look at D. You have, I'm not sure why they're adding up pencils and erasers, but you do have 2 times 15, so that's 2 pencils. This right here is 2 pencils, and that is 2 erasers. But you only have 3 of the other one, so you don't have enough of each, so D doesn't work. E is a little bit tricky. You have 3 times 15 here, and that's 3 pencils, but you're multiplying it by 2, so that would be 6 pencils here. You have 2 erasers here, so that's right. And this one you have 3 times 48, so that's 3 pens, but then you have 2 times 15, which is 2 pencils, but that's also multiplied by 3. So that does give you 12 pencils, 2 erasers, and 3 pens. So E also looks like it's a correct answer. So we have so far 3 correct answers. This only gives you 4 pencils, and this gives you 3 pencils, so this is not enough pencils. It doesn't work with the equation. It's really difficult to figure these out. What I think you have to do is look for, is there a way that you can come up with 12 pencils, you can come up with 2 pens, and you can come up with 2 erasers and 3 pens. If you can figure out a way to make 12 of these, 2 of these, and 3 of these, then the equation would work. But in this question, it looks like B, C, and E are the correct answers. Looking at Think Central here, they've done exactly what we said, and it looks like that these 3 answers are correct, and we got the correct answer. So you have B, C, and E are correct. For question number 7, what the question is suggesting is that we do an area model. So students in high school marching band arranged 18 rows. So imagine we had an area model with 18 rows. That's not 18, but imagine that we had 18 rows like that. And there are 90 students in the band. So this is an area model. So how many students would have to be in each row to make 90? Well, we know that length times width equals area. Or we can say that area divided by the length will equal width. So what is 90 divided by 18? So we're going to use equation B as that, and we figure out the answer by dividing 90 by 18, which that answer should be 5 in each row. Let's check it out. All right, looking at the Think Central view example, that gives us we use the proper equation, and when we do the algorithm, 90 divided by 18 is 5, so there's 5 students in each row. Penn volunteered a total number of 84 hours over 12 weeks. So what I've drawn here is a comparison, a fraction bar model. 84 is the total, and the parts are 12 parts. This is 12 parts here. And so we're going to take 84 and divide it by 12 to figure out how many hours he volunteered each week. So I'm going to use the equation C. And then we just simply divide 84 by 12 to get our answer. And the answer should be 7, because 7 times 12 is 84. Let's check it out. All right, there you go. So it's 84 divided by 12 is 7. Penn volunteered 7 hours each week. We're going to jump into problem number 9. We're going to use a mountain model, math mountain model. So the total is 2/3 cups of flour. So 2/3 has to be at the top. He used 1 1/4. There we go there. So what is how much is left over from that? So we're going to take 2/3 minus 2 3/4 minus 1 1/2, and that will give us the amount of flour that he has left. All right, looking at this, that's exactly what we do. We do the subtraction. You see they've used equivalent fractions right here. So 2 3/4 minus 1 2/2. 1 2/4 equals 1 1/4. So there's 1 1/4 flour left over. If you want to check that, you can add up 1 1/4 plus 1 1/2, and you will get a total of 2 3/4. Problem number 10, we're halfway through the practice test. Without solving the problem, so we're just going to use mental math here, choose the words that make sense. If Fido eats 2 cups of kibble and Fifi eats 6/5 of that much, who eats more? Well, 6/5 is greater than 1 whole, so we know that Fifi, since she eats more than a whole of Fido's, Fifi will eat more than Fido, because 6/5 is greater than 1. And looking at the view example here, explaining it for Think Central, 6/5 is greater than 1, therefore Fifi eats more than Fido, just like we said. All right, taking a look at this, you have one page. This represents one page. There's 6 stickers in each row, so I've done that by my width, and then the 84 total. So let's use an area model. You have 84 total. 6 is the width. What is the length? Because length times width equals area, which is 84. So in order to find the length, or R, you do the inverse operation. So you do 84 divided by 6, and that will tell us the answer. I look, so we got 84 divided by 6, and it shows us the work here. And so the answer is there should be 14 stickers in each row, because 14 times 6 is equal to 84. Julianne and Derek made a sign for the school spirit week. Julianne's sign is 3.5 feet long, so this represents her sign, and Derek's is 7/9 as long. So I did 9/9, that's a total, and 7/9 would equal to that much. So what is this? So we do 7/9 times 3.5, and that will give us the answer. So 3.5 times 7/9 will equal Derek's sign. And there we go. So we're showing 3.5 times 7/9. They make that an improper fraction. 3.5 is 7/2. 7/2 times 7/9 is 49/18. You simplify that to 2 and 13/18. So Derek's sign must be 2 and 13/18 feet long. Emilio made 62 pot holders, and each pot holder costs him $1.87, and he sells each one for $2.13. So how much profit does he make? Well, profit is the difference. Profit equals the difference between the sales price and the cost. So let's plug in this formula for each one. There's a couple ways to do it. I think the easiest way is to do profit for each pot holder. So you have the sales price of $2.13 minus the cost of $1.87. So for each one, how much profit does he make? Looking at it this way, I've got to regroup here. So I regroup and regroup. So 13 minus 7 is 6. He makes a total profit of 26 cents off of each pot holder. Then we have to figure out, well, how much total profit will we make multiplying 62 pot holders times 26. So he's going to make $16.12 for each pot holder. And there we go. Here's the Think Central explanation here. They're doing 62 times, they're using parentheses, 62 times the difference between the sales price and the cost. So 62 times 26, $16.12. Question 14 is very simple. We're basically just saying, is it going to be greater or less than 375? So the way we figure this out is, what are we multiplying 375 by? Is that number going to be greater than 1 or less than 1? That's going to show us the difference. So 1.4 is greater than 1, so we're going to put that there. 3 3/4 is the same as 3.75, and we're multiplying by 2, so that's going to go there. We're multiplying by 7/10, that's less than 1, so that's going to go there. 1/3 is less than 1, and 0.25 is less than 1. So multiplying a number by a number less than 1 gives you a product less than 1. Greater than 1 gives you a product greater than 1. And here is Think Central's explanation. Go ahead and pause the video and read these through, and you will see that each one of these is exactly what we talked about in the previous slide. This is a complicated problem. I think it's really important to understand the language of the problem first. If Mr. and Mrs. Story drove 1,800 miles, so we've got a part-whole model. Mr. Story, Y, so that is Y, drove 2 times as much as Mrs. Story. So X is going to equal Mrs. Story, and 2 times X is going to equal Mr. Story. So that will give us the total parts of each person driving. Now, the reason this is wrong is because Y is 2 times X, so this is not correct. So we get rid of B. Anyway, so we look at 1,800 miles, and we split those into 3 parts. So what is each part? What is 1/3 of 1,800 miles? And that's 600 miles. So if each part is 600 miles, then Mr. Story is 2 times Mrs. Story. So that means he has 2 parts. She has 1 part. So Mrs. Story drove 600 miles, and Mr. Story drove 1,200 miles. And looking at Think Central's view example, this is exactly what it shows. Mr. Story is 2 times Mrs. Story, so we have 1,800 divided into 3 parts, and it shows that Mr. Story drove 1,200 miles. This is a pretty complicated problem. An electronic store or a refrigerator costs 5 times as much as a DVD player. So if the DVD player costs $175, then the refrigerator is going to cost, and I'm going to draw this here, your refrigerator is going to cost 5 times as much as that. So if this is 175, then this is 175 times 5. So a refrigerator would be 175 times 5. A dishwasher is $100 more than a DVD player. That's pretty easy. That's just the DVD player plus 100. So we have 100 over here. So that's 175 plus 100. So I've done the calculations here, and 5 times 175 is 875 for the refrigerator, and dishwasher is 100 more than the DVD, so that'd be 275. So if Mr. Shin bought 13 refrigerators and 13 dishwashers, then what would the total be? She got a discount of 60, so we're going to take off 60 from the total. So what is the total here? So we're going to multiply 13 times 875, that's the cost of a refrigerator, and 275, that's the cost of a dishwasher. We're going to do that total here, and we're going to subtract 60, and that will give us our answer. And looking at the Think Central explanation, we got that right. Then you do the calculations, you end up with $14,890 is what she owes total. That is 13 times the refrigerator and 13 times the dishwasher added together. Looking at number 17, we're asking what is an additive comparison? Well, remember the additive comparison is using addition or subtraction to solve the problem. So 210 times as long, that's not additive. More than is additive because more is plus. Less than is additive because that's minus. 1/4 is multiplication, so that doesn't work. And fewer is additive because that's subtraction. So we have yes, we have no, we have yes, we have yes, and we have no. And there we go. So we have an explanation here. Pause the video to read this. You do not use multiplication. You only have to use subtraction or addition for an additive comparison. Question 18, Jerome. This is Jerome right here. He had a good game. He scored 20 points. But this, that means Jerome's points, is 4 times the number of points that Jamie scored. So Jamie is here. That's Jamie, and Jerome scored 4 times as much as Jamie, so that means Jamie scored 1/4 as many as Jerome. So how many points did the rest of the team score? Well, we don't know how to solve this problem. What we need to know is how many total points the team scored. So the total points, we would need to know A in order to solve this. We would need to know, no, the total points for the season doesn't matter. The total points of the opposite team doesn't matter. The total points the team scored in previous games does not matter. So what we need to know is how many points the team scored in total. That way we could compare. We could do Jamie's points. We could do Jerome's points. And then we would not know this amount because the total would be the team score. So that would be what we need to know is how much the team scored altogether. Here is Think Central's explanation. Pause the video and read this, and you will see that you need to know the total number of points the team scored in order to figure this out. All right, they're asking us to figure out the estimate. A car is $228 inches long, and the model of it is only 1/19 as long as the actual car. So, without solving the problem, select the answer that is reasonable. Well, think about it. This number, 228, would round to approximately 200, and 1/19 would round to 1/20. So, what is about 200 divided by 20? And the closest answer here probably would be about 12 inches. That's too small. That's way too big. That's way too big. So 1/20 of 200 would be about 10. So I'm going to have to say C is the correct answer. And you can see here that they take 1/19 of the number. So you say 1/19 is less than 1, so 1/19 of 228 is less than 228 by a lot, and 228 is greater than 19, so 1/19 is greater than 1. Which length is most reasonable? And our final problem on our practice test is there's a python, we'll say that's P, is 2.9 feet longer. So P plus 2.9 feet. Oh, sorry, scratch that. The python is longer. So P is the python and 2.9 feet longer than a boa. So that means the python is longer than the boa. So we could say boa plus 2.9 equals P, or P minus 2.9 equals B. Select an expression from each box to create an equation, the length of the snake. So you see that B is equal to python minus 2.9, or python is equal to B plus 2.9. Either one of those works to solve the problem. All right, now that you're done studying for the test, hopefully you'll do well. This is a tricky test. There's a lot of language in there that is difficult. You have to say, I'm smart, and here's a fancy mustache for you. You have to unpack each problem and make a simpler problem if need be, and ask a lot of questions, do a lot of practice, and you will get an A+ on the test.